残酷な天使のように少年よ神話にな
Good morning! Welcome back to Kiki News. Today we are in ISIS to South International School. We are joined by Joey, a grade 11 student from ISIS. Hello, Joey.
It's not the morning. It's 1:19.
Okay, let's start with the questions.
Okay, do you still think this poem is relevant today?
Yes.
Wow.
Because this poem talks about the differences between a free bird and a caged bird. Now, in the differences, it talks about the caged bird will sing of fearful trills. So it sings of things that it's scared of. Now, this is very common in today's music, which I think applies nicely here. In addition to that, it shows the difference in views between somebody who's never experienced captivity compared to somebody who does. Now, captivity doesn't mean just physical captivity; it can also mean societal captivity. Meaning, you know how if you do something in a certain place, you'll be judged, right? Now, this is a fact of life. You can't avoid the fact you will be judged. But the person who judges you, how they're going to act on that differs depending on whether or not they've been caged or whether or not they know what it's like to be caged. Because if they understood, they would, help you or just keep quiet. It's not their place to judge you. But if they don't know, they would be loud and blatant and, act on their judgment, right?
Okay. Do you think this poem is more relevant today or back in the segregation era?
Segregation era.
Why do you think that?
Because it wasn't just people, it wasn't person to person, it was systematic, and the government imposed this captivity.
Okay, do you have any further comments?
It's 1:20, girl. It's not the morning.
Okay. Anyways, thank you for watching, and straight to the next interview.
Hello.
We're back in the ISIS lab.
Now we have Milo, a grade 9 student. And Greg, on to the questions, please.
Do you think this poem is still relevant today?
Yes, I do think it has still some relevance because racism is still going on. I don't think it is something that you can just destroy. So this poem is still very important to all the black males and females out there.
Okay, cool. Next question. Can you relate in any way to this poem?
Honestly, a bit as a human being, but in my circumstances, not at all.
Okay. Do you think this poem matters more today or in the segregation era of the US?
Definitely the segregation era. Racism was much more widespread during that era.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you elaborate?
Alright, so you know how today people have all been more accepting and all. This whole society is made out of them. In the segregation era, people were separated just purely based on their color, right? Black people had to sit at the back of the bus or the back of the train, white people sat up front. It's a white supremacist era,
Cool.
Blacks couldn't get jobs, and, well, it's really unfair how they just started at the bottom rung and stayed down there until today.
Cool. Okay, last question. Rate this poem from 1 to 10.
9.8,
Why would you give that rating?
because it's an anti-racist poem.
Okay.
It's really beautiful how it shows how the black people are a caged bird and that they're caged.
Okay.
White people are free, and well, the caged bird is there because the free birds put them in the cage in the first place. So, and today I do believe that there are still some remnants of the cage left, but I hope it will all disappear one day.
Okay, thank you. On to
you,
the
Milo.
next one.
Oh
The Caged Bird by Maya Angelou was written as response to Paul Laurence Dunbar's poem about what the caged bird sings about, which is in this poem she responds with the caged bird sings for freedom. In Dunbar's poem, he talks about how the caged bird tries to bang against the cage for freedom, while in Angelou's poem, the caged bird is the metaphor for her life. In the poem, she mainly compares the difference between a free bird who represents people who are affected by any type of injustice.
Thank you. Next, can we get more analysis, please?
Oh, yes. In the poem, she merely compares the difference between a free bird, who represents people who aren't affected by any injustices of this world, compared to the caged bird, who represents people caged from prejudice, racism, or sexism.
お前はもう死んでいる。何？
Greg, analysis. Much better. Now, hear me, Greg, with the analysis. The Caged Bird by Maya Angelou was written as a response to Paul Laurence Dunbar's poem about what the caged bird sings about, which in this poem she responds with the caged bird sings for freedom. In Dunbar's poem, he talks about how the caged bird tries to bang against the cage for freedom while singing, while in Angelou's poem, the caged bird is a metaphor for her life. In the poem, she merely compares the difference between a free bird, who represents people who aren't affected by any prejudice or injustice of this world, compared to a caged bird, who represents people caged from prejudice, racism, or sexism.
The bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wings in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky.
But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing.
I got calling young black people phone, which I live with a dog.
The caged bird sings with fear for thrill of the things unknown but long for still, and his tune is heard on a distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleep.
The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own.
But a caged bird stands on the grave of dream. His shadow shout on a nightmare scream.
Finish, help, finish. Finish, help, finish. Finish, help, finish. Finish, help, finish.
His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful thrill of things unknown but long for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom.